Hey everyone, it's Wolfgang. I want to talk about having an income without a boss, how to start. So, almost everyone working has a talent and skill, and you can easily earn income without a boss. There's a process you have to go through to make it work, but you can do it. One of the things you want to think about is having a little bit of a runway, some cash reserves, some savings when you make this transition. So let me just set things up. Here's the scene. You just went out on your own to become self-employed. You were working in your job with your skills and talent, and you've gone out on your own to be self-employed, and you need a method to get started to start having your own customers. Because when you're working for a company, you have customers. It's just that the company finds the customers. So what this is going to do is show you how to get your own customers. It's actually pretty straightforward. The only thing you need is your own talent and skill, which you already have, and some effort that I'll explain as we go through this. So one of the things that often happens in companies is the company will ask you to sign a non-solicitation agreement. What that means, non-solicitation means you agree to not seek business from your employer's customers after, assuming you leave the company. And usually there's a time period that non-solicitation agreement is good for. It's usually spelled out in the document that you signed. Ask the employer for a copy, and it will show you what's in there if you don't have your own copy. Another thing your former employer may have made you sign, and this happens when they hire you. Once you start, right at hiring time, they'll make you sign the non-solicitation, possibly a non-compete agreement. A non-compete agreement simply means you're prohibited from going to a company that competes with your employer. And their thinking is you will share all the trade secrets of your employer with your new company. And so non-compete agreements may not be enforceable. Look into that. Some states have limited them. There have been cases where non-compete agreements have not been upheld. Non-solicitation agreements, on the other hand, they're a bit more solid. Basically, the courts have recognized that if a company has gone out and found customers and you sign one of these agreements on non-solicitation, the company has the right to enforce that because that's how they stay in business, their own customers. They found the customers, so they do have a right to ask you to not try to create your new business with their customers. The non-compete may not be enforceable. Okay, so let me explain this process. It's pretty straightforward. It's based on Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And it boils down to taking your talent and your skill and finding your own customers. That's all it is. It's that simple. It's basically saying, okay, my employer has been using me, my skills and talent for my employer's customers. My employer got the customers. Now I'm going to find my own customers. With the internet today, it's pretty darn easy to do this. It's a lot easier than it was even 10, 15 years ago. So you start off this way. Make a list of any and all businesses that use your service. And for example, I'm going to use somebody working for a plumbing company as an example, but I'll mention a couple of other situations, other types of jobs where it's just as easy to make this list. So the whole thing though is we want to create a list of other established businesses who need your service. In this case, we're using plumbing, someone working at a plumbing company as an example. Okay, so what companies would use plumbing services? A building contractor would, when they're building new structures, new homes, and shopping malls and office buildings. Local home builders need plumbers for the same reason. This would be both rough plumbing and finish plumbing, if you know what that means. I'm in real estate, so if you're not familiar with what that means, the rough plumbing is the piping that you really don't see under the ground. The finish plumbing is the stuff you see when you walk into like a bathroom or a kitchen and the sink is there with the faucet and stuff. That's the finished plumbing. Building contractors and home builders will be able to utilize someone who has plumbing skills for both finish and rough plumbing. School districts have a lot of need for plumbing talent. Office buildings and apartment buildings, knock on the door or contact the managers and let them know you're available. We're going to create some incentives for these folks that you reach out to hire you for your initial set of customers. A building maintenance company. There are a lot of companies out there that exist to provide maintenance for buildings. They get hired by people who own large buildings to maintain those buildings. So this building maintenance company, they tend to use plumbers too, and electricians and janitors and window cleaners and so on. But so that's another possible customer to add to the list. Shopping mall management. Any shopping mall you've ever been to has a management company that is managing the shopping mall. Find out who they are, reach out to them. They always have plumbing needs ongoing because the stores that are present in the mall, sometimes they set up agreements with the management company to use their plumbing. Their plumbing staff, and sometimes they don't. But so that's an option. There's also common area plumbing, like there are common bathrooms that all the people who visit the mall use. If you've been working in a plumbing company, large plumbing contractors for temporary manpower shortages. So this does not violate a non-solicitation agreement unless that employer was using that plumbing contractor, and it's likely they weren't because they were also a plumber. In the non-compete, I just don't think they're enforceable. It's really hard to enforce those because with a non-compete, you're basically saying, we don't want you to earn a living. You're not going to be able to feed yourself anymore. It's just not practical. It's not rational. Another user of plumbing services, churches, synagogues, houses of worship. But the point I'm trying to make with this list is you have talent and skill. You've been applying that at your employer for customers that your employer has found for you. That's really the main function of a company, is to find customers and then hire the people to provide the service to those customers. Companies are sort of like a middleman sort of entity. And if you have the talent and skills, you should be able to find your own customers, and you can. You create a list. This is not an exhaustive list of all the possible users of plumbing services. I just wanted to make the point. You could be an electrician. You could be a janitor. You could be a teacher. There are just so many different jobs who could make a list of users of their talent and skill and start reaching out to them to find an initial customer base. Okay, so here's how you can ramp up your business fast with a large list. Again, you want to make that list as large as possible. Put some effort into that because that's where your customers will come from. So when one of these people reach out to you, you should commit to a 5-minute follow-up when they call. Adam, the best approach, though, to be honest, is personally answering the phone for 6 months. For the first 6 months when you're going out on your own, make a commitment that you're going to answer the phone in person and not let it go to voicemail, and grab that customer. And one of the things you can do is offer half off, 50% off for new customers, or something like that. The first service is free as long as you book a follow-on service and or put a good review on Google. And then you should go overboard to make all your early customers happy, sort of over-deliver. So one of the ways you can do this, I've seen this, I've experienced this as someone who hires vendors to do work for our rental properties. A guy will come in and he will find something during the job, and he will take care of that without charging us anything, but he will mention it. That's the important thing. If you find something, you're going overboard to over-deliver. If you find something during a job that the customer didn't actually ask you to take care of, and you can take care of it, as long as it's not a huge expense, do that work and tell the customer it was you found that and you took care of that for free. That will really impress customers. They'll want to hire you back. We're trying to build this initial list of customers. We're giving a discount, and we're over-delivering on service. Also, keep a weekly appointment schedule on your phone. And that way, you're personally answering your phone. If you get a call and they want to make an appointment, bam, your schedule is right on your phone. You can check and you can set the appointment right then. You don't have to say, let me call you back. Let me check my appointment and call you back. No, make the appointment like right then with the new customer. Because what customers do is if you put them off and say you're going to call, they keep dialing. They keep trying to find someone who will help them. They don't want to wait because they don't know how long it's going to be before you get back to them. If you're not going to answer the phone, I think you should do this. Just make a commitment to answer the phone in person for the first 6 months. If you're not going to do that, or if it does go to voicemail for some reason, call them back in 5 minutes. Try to interrupt them from continuing to dial to find someone to help them. Grab the customer, and keep the weekly appointment schedule on your phone so you can book the appointment with them when they call. And most workers can make a list like this one. There are very few people who are working in companies who could not find their own customers. Because think about it. Here's the company finding customers, hiring people to do service for those customers, right? So those customers could bypass the company and work directly with the employees if the employee was available. This is how you make yourself available. You have a runway of cash. You have some savings set aside. You create as large a list as possible, and then you reach out to those folks on your list. And, you have to be patient with the business to grow. But as long as you're offering discounts for initial customers, as long as you're responding really quickly, as long as you're going overboard with your work, and you can book appointments right away, your customer list will grow. And within 6 months, for most employees who have transitioned out of having a boss, because the whole thing is we're trying to get rid of having a boss. That company exists to find customers and then hire people. The company is a middleman, and the boss is there to, we all know what bosses do. We have the skill, we have the talent, and let's find our own customers. Let's stop relying on a company to find our customers, because the pay is higher when you're your own boss. When you don't have a boss, you can pay yourself what you want, what you're willing to earn, what you're willing to work for. So, if you have any questions about any of this, I think I covered it all. Oh yeah, there was one thing I couldn't fit on the board here. So eventually you're going to be successful. If you apply this, unless you're living in a town of size 100 people, and then you can go to the nearest city to get customers, this will work. This will help you find customers, making the list, reaching out to those folks. And when you succeed, you should write down the strategy that you used to find customers. If your old employer reaches out to you and they notice you've become successful in 6 months or less, you have your documented steps that you went through to create your customer list. So you want to document how you built up your business. The only thing I would say about this is the cool thing about an employer is they sort of enforce a working schedule. Like you're showing up for work at a certain time every day, you're staying X number of hours. And once you're self-employed, you have to sustain that, because all these customers are going to expect you to be able to have the same working hours of another person that they would call, a company, for example. So the one thing you want to make sure once you fire your boss, once you're out on your own, is to keep the same working hours that you had when you had your job, because all the customers expect the same working hours from every company. In the case of plumbers, I think they start work pretty early. Other companies like software engineers, different story, right? So it varies depending on the type of work that you're doing. If you have any questions about this, please reach out, post a question in the comments. And it's really cool to not have a boss. I did this a long time ago. It's worked out pretty well. Because, the challenge with having a boss is they don't really know the magnitude of effort that you're putting into something. And so they're looking at it from outside. And sometimes their job is to keep you in your place so you don't ask for a huge raise, or so you don't get the idea that you're very valuable. There are some companies who do not want good employees leaving. And so they tend to not want to let the best employees, they don't want to, pile on the praise, because then that employee will ask for a raise. They might leave for a higher paying job. So you don't need a boss. The company is only finding customers for you. Make a list, find your own customers, and get rid of your boss. So I want to thank everyone for watching, and have a great day.